Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Harley from the Free and Play, and we're going to be doing some programming today. More specifically, we're going to be learning C Sharp. Before we begin, we'll go ahead and get started on where you can find this course. So if you head to Google and you type in there Free Code Camp, first thing that pops up is here. So you'll go to get started, it's free, and you'll have to log in. So pick whatever you choose. I chose to log in with my GitHub. You can use your Google account. As you can tell, I haven't been active in a while, so we're going to start fresh. We are going to be looking at, so if we go back, so once you log in, it should take us to this menu section here, and we'll go ahead and head down to Earn Free Professional Certifications, and we're going to do the new Foundational C# with Microsoft certification. So we'll click that, and then it'll give us this other context here. And we'll go ahead and start with write your first C# code. And then we'll go to the first link. And we'll get started. And let me go ahead and get the stream together. I'll make it a little bit smoother next time. Okay. Okay. Just had to change something there. Okay. Doing a test. Just had to change something there. Oh, and while we're let's put Spotify on quick. Okay. Well, testing, sorry. Okay. Okay, so we'll be fine with that. Okay, just making sure everything is up and running. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So write your first C# code hopefully, hold on, let me make sure something real fast. I don't want the volume to be too loud. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn down a little bit more. Okay. That way it's not as quiet. And sorry, I'm a little cold right now. Okay, so write your first C# code. Let's get into it already. Sorry for the late start to all of this. Trying to get everything situated. Okay. I'll put a reminder to go ahead and start from when I talked about Free Code Camp until now. Start at about 6 minutes. Okay, so write your first C# code. Get started by writing code examples to learn the basics of the C# syntax. So we're going to learn about C#, the syntax of C# specifically in this portion. We're going to use two different techniques to print a message to a text console. We're going to diagnose errors when you type code incorrectly, and we're going to identify different C# syntax elements like operators, classes, and methods. So we'll learn about the different operators that are available for us to use. Let's go ahead and get started. And for the most part, actually, let's go back. So this module is part of these learning paths. So I just wanted to make sure we were going to be fine. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So the C# programming language allows you to build many types of applications like business applications to capture, analyze, and process data, dynamic web applications that can be processed from a web browser, games, both 2D and 3D, financial and scientific applications, cloud-based applications, mobile applications. But how do you begin to write an application? How do you begin to write an application, right? So applications are all made up of many lines of code that work together to achieve a task. By far, the best way to learn how to code is to write code. It's encouraged that you write code along with the exercises in this module and the others in this learning path. Writing code yourself in each exercise and solving small coding challenges will accelerate your learning. You'll also begin learning small foundational concepts and build on them with continual practice and exploration. In this module, you'll write your first lines of C# code. You'll use two different techniques to print a message as output, and diagnose errors when code is incorrect, and identify different C# syntax elements like operators, classes, and methods. By the end of this module, you'll be able to write C# code to print a message to the standard output of a console, like the Windows terminal. These lines of code will give you your first look at the C# syntax and immediately provide invaluable insights. So at the end of each page, we'll click the complete module portion. And before I also continue, I want to say that I'm doing this because those of us, like, I want to learn C# so I can do game dev. And if there's anyone that wants to learn just the basic concepts, we can go through this class together. That's pretty much all it is. I'm just documenting everything that I'm doing so I can come back and watch it later and see exactly what I'm learning about, right? So I'm hoping that in turn we can all use it together, those of you in the future watching, and me as well. We can all benefit from maybe having someone else kind of read it and talking about it, and instead of doing it, because like what I'm doing, right, is self-taught, but I'm also going to school at the same time. So anyway, you complete that. But yeah, I'm going to school at the same time, and I want to bring something together. Like I want to bring a group of people together. Oh, did it already end the module for me because I completed it? Okay, so you guys will continue to press that haven't done this before. You'll hit the complete module. I will continue hitting through the next button for now. So, a little quick out of the way. So we have our first exercise. We're going to write our first line of code. In the first hand exercise, you'll use C# to print hollowed programmer's phrase. So we're going to print to the console the basic hello world, right? as it tells us here, so C#, it's print line method, or well, in this case it's called write line, right? So, and I hope you guys can see that. We have to figure that one out. But it's called console.writeLine, and then parentheses, and then quotation marks, open quotation marks, hello world, exclamation point, and closing quotation marks, and closing bracket, semicolon. They always end with a semicolon. That's the end of the sentence, so to say, right? Every statement is going to end with this semicolon. So this is a statement. This is telling you to write a line to the console. So let's go ahead and do that, right? So console.writeLine, and then hello world. And then don't forget, we'll get an error, right? If we try to run this now, we didn't put a semicolon at the end. It's telling us void console.writeLine string value. Yeah, so we're thrown an error there if we hover over the right parenthesis. It was an error. So if we try to run, it's going to put that in the output for us. So it lets us know in the compiler beforehand. So pretty much this is like a compiler for us, a code compiler, program compiler. And it'll throw out errors for us before we can even run. So, oops, I forgot to mute my phone. So we'll go ahead and run now after the semicolon has been put there, and now it prints to the output hello world down here at the bottom. So we ran our first line of code and it went to the output. What to do if you get an error? So we kind of went over that about an error. In this specific case that they give us, there's another error, which is let's cut that, and then we'll take out these parentheses, and then we'll put a single quote. Now, single quotes in C#, it acts as a literal character, or character literal, right? And pretty much what that means is the only way it's going to print anything from inside of it if it's a single character. Once I removed all the extra characters in that whole string, it will work. Now, watch, it's going to print H. So that's a character literal. So it'll throw us an error, and the error is too many characters in a in character literal. So that just means we can't have more than one character inside of single quotes. What else? Entering lowercase letters instead of capitalizing C in console. Oh yeah, that's another good one. So, right, console is I believe it's a class, and let's just double check that, right? So another thing that I want to incorporate in this class is teaching you guys how to use Google. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Google, it doesn't matter to me. Just don't use ChatGPT to write the code for you. So we want to know what console is in C#. Oh, if I can, jeez, I'm gonna go down the whole row. Okay, so console is a class. Console class. So it's a good idea to come and research. I mean, you don't have to go into depth of every single little detail that is provided to you, but what you could do is just to double check, because I wanted to double check if console was a class. So console is a class, and then writeLine is a method from that class. If we go into methods, here we go. See, we got writes. WriteLine is a method. Writes the current line terminator to the standard output stream. Okay, so now that we understand that console cannot be the lowercase c because that is, I would say, like, it's case sensitive. I think that's the word to use. Correct me if I'm wrong. But since it's named console with a capital C as a class, they cannot. We're pretty much calling from a class, right? So there's no other class named console with a lowercase c. It just doesn't exist. And I think, depending on the rules, the naming conventions, you can't have a lowercase as a class name. Entering a comma instead of a period. So let's correct this one. So if we input a comma instead of a period, oh, and let's do that. Fix that. What does it give us now? Expected. So it's expecting either a semicolon, a bracket. Console is a type which is not valid in the given context. Okay. So it just doesn't work, right? It's just gonna throw an error. So we'll just put it back to a period. Pretty much, this is called a method. Oh, look, I already forgot. So now we're gonna go ahead and look up what a period means in C#. Input dot operator. I think it's called an access operator. What is it called in Java? I already forgot. But anyway, it's used to draw reference from one of its, like, you can call its methods from it, right? So console dot meaning I want to call something from this class, write line, which is a method from console, and then we can use that to print to the output. Okay, so now we can display a different message if we want to. So we can put hi, my name is, then we can write another line, console dot write line fair play, and add a ending semicolon. Run. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Oh, I did punctuation. So it says right here, console does not contain a definition for write line. So there's another example. The method is written as with a capital L in its name. So we have to use that exact punctuation, the exact lettering. Hi, my name is Fairplay. And so you can do that for yourself. And then write. We can also do, so write just means, so write line will create a new line after that line of text, right? So console dot write line, and hello. But if we do console dot write hi, right? And then we do console dot write sup. The last two are, it's gonna say hi sup, and as in one word. Check it out. Oh, whoops. See, there we go again. Make sure we have the correct spelling. So hello, new line, right? Right line. Hi sup. Because it's just, there's no new line created after the output. Okay. hopefully you guys are understanding this. I know when I first started learning programming, it was quite a bit, so I'm trying to go as slow pace as possible. If you do have any questions, ask them below in the comment section, and I'll get to them as fast as I can. Okay. So learn how it works, right? So what is programming language? Programming languages like C# let you write instructions that you want the computer to carry out. Each programming language has its own syntax, but after learning your first programming language and attempting to learn another one, you'll quickly realize they all share many similar concepts. A programming language's job is to allow a human to express their intent in a human readable and understandable way. The instructions you write in a programming language are called source code, or just code. Software developers write code. At this point, a developer can update and change the code, but the computer can't understand the code. The code first must be compiled into a format that the computer can understand, which is what we've been using so far. This is a compiler, right? So pretty much what they're saying is, we write code that we can understand. So how we explain the console, how it's a class, and then a method from that class, and then we're able to use the context of that method, fill in whatever we need to do with it, right? So in this case was being able to write a line of string to the output, or a character literal if we wanted to. And so when we write it in this way, this is a way that we understand how to program in this language. Now, what the compiler does is that turns it into machine code. So that way the machine can understand what is going on. So like, if I were to try to open a machine, that's a good one. Not the source code. I mean, it's machine code for the machine to understand. I think there was another word for it. Okay. Well, anyway. Besides that point, so when we compile, so okay, let's read this next section so we can get a little bit more into that, right? A special program called a compiler converts your source code into a different format that the computer's central processing unit, or CPU, can execute. When you use the green run button in the previous unit, the code you wrote was first compiled, then executed. Why does code need to be compiled? Although most programming languages seem cryptic at first, they can be more easily understood by humans than the computer's preferred language. The CPU understands instructions that are expressed by turning thousands or millions of tiny switches either on or off. Compilers bridge these two worlds by translating your human-readable instructions into a computer-understandable set of instructions. What is syntax? The rules for writing C# code is called syntax. Okay, so compilation, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to go too far off that. So the computer will, when this goes through the CPU, can't understand this, right? That's what I was trying to get at, right? The computer can't understand this language because that's only readable to us. So what the compiler would do, force it into a different file, compile it, right, to code that is readable to the processor. Okay, so what is syntax? So syntax is the rules for writing in a specific language. So we're writing in C. We're going to be writing in C#. So we're going to be learning the syntax of C#. So it's the keywords. Those rules define the keywords and operators of C# and how they are put together to form programs. When you wrote code into the .NET editor, you may have noticed subtle changes to the color of different words and symbols. Syntax highlighting is a helpful feature that you'll begin to easily spot mistakes in your code and that don't conform to syntax rules. C#. So like how you notice so far, how we can see the errors, right? When we had the whole sentence in single quotation marks, well, that goes against the rules, right? The rules of the syntax of the language, because we weren't allowed to do that. So syntax is going to be very important as we continue through this. sorry, it's pretty. I've been up, but I did want to get a stream in and get this going. We got to get this started. I had to rip the band-aid off. Let me drink some water. Hydrate. So how does your code work? So we already talked about it. So we wrote it in our editor, and then it compiles, and then it goes to the output. We have to make sure we use the correct punctuation. We have to make sure we capitalize on our methods and classes. And we must make sure that we end our statements with a semicolon. So let's check our knowledge. What is the difference between console.write and console.writeLine? So we explained that before. Console.writeLine appends a new line after the output, right? Adds a new line after. And the console.write does not create a new line after. So console.writeLine appends a new line after the output. That's my answer. Check it. Correct. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So complete the challenge. So now we have a challenge. So we'll see these throughout the course, and pretty much it's just going to test our knowledge on what we learned. For those of you that have done programming before, this is going to be super simple. Obviously, to me this is really simple right now. Excuse me, but I know it will get a little bit more advanced and tedious. So just bear with me. I know that I'm going at a slow start, but it is important for new people into programming to kind of, I don't know, at least for me, I would like someone to sit there and talk slowly and maybe explain things a little bit differently than what the text is actually saying. That's the whole point of the stream as well. Like, you can go back and you can read through this on your own, or you can do it on your own entirely and not even watch these videos, which is fine. Like I said, again, this is mainly for me and those that want to benefit from it as well. So yes, we'll see these challenges, and this is going to help us, right? We're going to learn from this. Okay, so first it's telling us to go ahead and just select all and delete. So Control A is a shortcut. So if you hold down the Control key, like we had stuff here, hold down the Control key, type, and then press the A key. So hold Control, press the A. Doesn't mean hold the A, right? For those that don't know. Okay, I'll stop talking. I'm sorry. So Control A, right, and then hit backspace, and then we'll go ahead and write code that produces the following output. So this is the first line, this is the second line. In the previous unit, you learned how to display a message in just one line of code, and you know how to display a message using multiple lines of code. Use both techniques for this challenge. It doesn't matter which technique you apply to which line. It doesn't matter how many ways you split one of the two messages into multiple lines of code. Of course, no matter how you do it, your code should produce a specified output. Okay, so pretty much what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to put the first line as a console.writeLine. Console.writeLine. And some code editors have that, so I don't know if you saw how I did that, right? So I just console, hit tab, dot, and it's already ready for me to do WriteLine. But if I wanted to just do write, I could just do write. Or if I want WriteLine, so I already have WR, right? I could just put a capital L, hit enter tab, and I can go ahead and put my text. So this is the first line. Line. And in some editors, so in this one, for example, which is the one we're going to be using for the first section or the first module, you can go ahead and whatever piece is there, like, so this is quotation mark, so I want to go past quotation mark, I want to go past the parenthesis, and if there's no semicolon, like let's say that's what I wanted to add, so I would hit those keys in that order. So quotation, parentheses, and then I can hit my semicolon key to end the statement. It's just the little shortcuts really help out as you learn them. I know there's teachers out there that would be like, hey, you don't need to learn the shortcuts. The shortcuts help. It helps you write the code faster, so you can kind of get along faster. I'm a person, I don't have a lot of time. I got a lot that I do. I know I'm going on a tangent. I got 2 kids. I got 2 jobs. I do a lot of. I do a lot. I make sure I do everything that I can for my family. So, I just want to make sure we can get through this fast, because I want to get through this fast too. I'm not telling you to rush. I'm going at a pace that is comfortable for me. And if you need a little extra help, that is fine, and we could try to work something out actually. Okay, so the next line we're gonna do a console.write, and we're just gonna put this is, or we can put this is the space, because since it's not gonna create a new line, either our second write statement or our first one is gonna have to have a space at the end of the first, or a space at the beginning of the second. So. And we don't, you know what? We don't even have to rewrite that. Let's go ahead and copy and paste. And we can put second line. And when we run, this is the first line. Oh, got our periods. And this is the second line. If I can spell second line. Okay. So that one's done. And we got to use both techniques and from what we learned. So review the solution. Oh, so they did 3 lines. Either way. Knowledge check. Alright. Sorry, my cat's trying to get some loving right now. I love you. Alright. So what is the primary job of compiler? The compiler is pretty much translates our code from human readable to machine readable. Compiler primarily converts your code into an executable format that the computer can understand. Yes, that makes the most sense. Which of the following statements is true about C#? It's case sensitive. Console is not a method. WriteLine is not a class. We said it multiple times. Console is a class, and WriteLine is a method of that class. You use double quotation marks to create a literal string. No, single quotes is a character literal, right? So if we say literal means like single. Yes, it's like that literal thing. So C# is a case sensitive language, which is very true, as we've experienced by typing lowercase c for console, and lowercase w or lowercase l. What is wrong with this line of code? Console.WriteLine. What is wrong with me? There's no semicolon. First thing I saw. The first thing I'm looking at is capital, capital, capital. Make sure it's double quotes if it's a sentence, and then a semicolon to end the statement. So it's missing a semicolon at the end. Check your answers. Oh. Okay, so maybe I interpreted that wrong. Good thing. This case sensitive. Oh, I read that wrong. I really did read that wrong. Okay, don't mind me. Let's brush that under the rug. Okay, so that makes sense. It used double quotation marks to create literal string. I don't know why I was thinking that. So okay, so character literal completely different from literal string, right? And just to confirm, I should have googled it, right? Character literal versus literal. There we go. That would have been our answer. We would have figured it out right away. Okay. And then convert semicolon check. Boom. Pass. You didn't see nothing. So your goal was to write code that displayed simple messages to an output console while familiarizing yourself with syntax. You wrote your first lines of code using basic C# syntax. You learn 2 techniques for displaying literal string data to the console. You also learn that what to look for when you come across an error in your code. And lastly, you identify C# syntax elements like classes and methods, and the purposes of several special symbols that are known as operators. You've taken your first steps toward building more sophisticated applications. Cool. So that's it. We completed the module, and then we'll get a little achievement, and you'll get like more progression in your levels as well. So make sure that you're going through all of that. So when we finish here on this page, we can actually exit out and stay back at the free code camp. So for lesson 1, we already completed that, so we can mark that off. And what is the difference between console.write and console.writeLine? So again, console.write does not append a new line like WriteLine does. So console.writeLine appends a new line after the output. Check your answer. Complete. Submit and go to next challenge. I think it's gonna actually send us to yeah, so let's go here. We're gonna have to I don't want to clear that out. Okay, anyway, so we're gonna store and retrieve data using literal and variable values in C#. So go ahead and go to, we'll go to Microsoft. So it should keep us logged in. Oh, and you guys probably have already figured it out by now, but yes, you do need an account for this. I would recommend using an account that is important to you, because you do get a you do take a certification exam, and so that way you can have your certificate and showcasing your knowledge that you have learned. And I'm gonna try to make this go as fast as possible. I feel like we'll spend less time because like these say like 48 minutes. I feel like if I can go in here and kind of explain some things. Basically, my main objective: let's get through the foundational course, get our certification, take the certification exam, get our certificate, foundational C# from Microsoft, and we'll go start working on some video games. I think that'll be fun. We can start making some concepts and just do game design. Just because. Make some fun stuff. Make some copycats. It doesn't matter. I just want to create stuff. And how do I put it? I'm doing this for my kids, and I hope that this helps my family grow and expand. And I want to be able to teach this too, because I'm going to school, right? I'm going to school. I'm thinking about becoming a teacher. So this will kind of help me get this through my mind, so I can get an understanding of how to convey all of this. And I want to do the best as possible. You can think of this as our like little break. But yeah, thank you guys for if you tuned in this far, thank you so much. Please, if you really have tuned in this far, please leave a like down below. Leave a comment how much you enjoy the stream. Leave a comment of what I can do to improve the stream or the video. If there's anything I need to do as far as, do I need the screen zoomed in on the on Google, you know? Would you rather this not be a live stream? Would you rather this be pre-recorded, edited? I'll try to do that. I'm basically doing the live streaming out of convenience, because I do want to get through this, and I don't have a lot of time on my hands. But if it would be more beneficial for you guys to view edited videos, that would be fine as well. But yeah, just let me know. All right, let's chuck some water and let's get through this next section. Okay, so now we know that literals are different. There's character literals and there's other types of literals. So store and retrieve data using literal and variable values in C#. So after you complete this module, you'll be able to create literal values for 5 basic data types, declare and initialize variables, retrieve and set values in variables, allow the compiler to determine the type of determine the data type for your variable when initializing. Must understand C# basic rules. Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and start the introduction. Any applications that you'll build in C# require you to work with data. Sometimes the data will be hard-coded in your application. Hard-coded values are values that are constant and unchanged throughout the execution of the program. For example, you may need to print a message for the user when some operation succeeds. A success message would likely be the same every time the application is executed. This hard-coded value can also be called a constant or a literal value. Okay, so constants. We're going to be learning about constants. Suppose you want to display a formatted message to the end user containing different data types, different types of data. The message would include hard-coded strings combined with information your app collects from the user. To display a formatted message, you will need to create both hard-coded values and defined variables that can store data types, or that can store data of certain type, whether numeric, alphanumeric, and so on. In this module, you create literal strings that contain different data types. You will create variables that can hold certain data types, set those variables with a value, then retrieve those values later in code. So we'll retrieve our value that we set to a variable later in code. So like, okay, let's finish this and I'll show you. And finally, you'll learn how you can simplify your code by allowing the compiler to shoulder some of the work. At the end of this module, you'll be able to create literal values and store and retrieve data and variables. So our learning objective is to create literal values for the 5 basic data types. Okay, we already went through that, so let's go ahead and go to the next. So in this exercise, we're going to print literal values. What is literal value? Literal value is like so alphanumeric characters, HELLO. That's why I got confused, but it said it didn't say that. It had the opposite. I can't remember. Exercise. Print different literal data types. There are many data types in C#. But as you're getting started, you only need to know about 5 or 6 data types since they cover most scenarios. So we're going to use character literals, right? That's what we learned about there. We'll just go ahead and write it. Console dot write line B and run it B. So we can also we can do the same thing with hello world. Try to at least, right? And can't, because remember, you can't have more than one character in a string literal. Or sorry, in a character literal. Integer literals, pretty much just putting numbers that aren't a decimal. And there's different kind. So we got floating point. So we'd have to write a F at the end for float. I don't think we need to do, yeah, we don't have to do any type of what is it called? Interpolation? No. I can't remember. Why? Let's look that up. Why do we have to append an F in C# for float? Suffix indicate that the float is be double. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, because each it stores its own like memory size, right? That's in the like when it gets to the computer science portion, right? So we can store up to 6 to 9 digits within a float. So we can do 1, 2, 3. 1223.1223, that's 82334. I don't think that would work. I think that's too many digits, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can only do 7 digits for this number. And then if we had it as double, we can have, I think, the whole thing. So double wouldn't have anything appended to it. Yep, we can do the whole thing. And then decimal is D. No, M. That's going to be one to remember. So if we needed to use decimal values, okay, let's see how far we can extend to. So we can get all the way to that one. Let's see. Yeah, it's the one. So we can, that's how many digits we can have in a double. And then we can have way more digits in a decimal. We can be way more precise. Let's see how far we can go. So we went all the way to right there. That's how many digits we can have inside of the decimal. So cool. So here we have the suffix. Yeah, we just went through all. So Boolean values is different. So console dot right line true, and we'll just copy that, paste that. False. True, false. Booleans only have 2 values. Why emphasize data types? So pretty much what this is trying to get at is that we can store variables, right? I mean, we can store these literal values or these literal types of values inside a variable. So like, let's say we had a age equals 20, 28, 29, doesn't matter, right? Oh, okay, so this underscore on it is telling us that is assigned, but its value is never used. So we aren't using this variable yet. But once we call it, right, we can call it with the console.writeLine, and we can put age. Oh. Then we called it, and now when we print it, it'll put our whatever we put in there. Right, so let's say we also want to do, say I am. Now we can use operators, right? Like this plus. We can use an operator. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit, right? You can use. Okay, you can use operators. So plus age, plus years old. Look at that. It works. We can use multiple things too. So we can do like var equals, or we can do half equals in divided by 2, right? Whereas in, let's actually create it, var in, and then we can do do we have to declare it? Okay. And then what if we do okay, well actually let's just put number equals 27. right? We want to divide it by 2. So now we'll do so what is half? Yeah, so console dot right line, or we can do right, doesn't matter for this example. So what is half? What is half of 27? It'll give us a value 13. Sorry, I blinked out for a minute. I was trying to figure out how I was gonna write that again. So we declared, so like we can use variables within other variables. We can use variables inside of other variables, pretty much is what I was trying to get to. So right, we declared var n as equal to 27. Then we did a var half, which will divide whatever number n that we have by 2. So we did console dot right, and we put half, and it'll get whatever variable, so whatever type of data that we put in there, but in this case we're using integers, so it grabs the integer and divides it by 2. So if I put 28, run it again, it should give me 14. So we kind of learned about that. So data types define capabilities. Earlier you saw strings and chars used for their presentation, not calculation. If you need to perform a mathematical operation on numeric values, you should use an int or decimal. If you have data that is used for presentation or text manipulation, you should use string or card. Suppose you need to collect data from a user, like a phone number or postal code. Depending on the country or region where you live, data may consist of numeric characters. However, since you rarely perform mathematical calculations on phone numbers and postal codes, you should prefer to use a string type when working with them. The same can be said for bool. If you need to work with words true and false in your application, you would use a string. However, if you need to work with a concept of true and false when performing an evaluation, you would use bool. However, it is only displayed, so this kind of shows that example there. However, it is only displayed the output only the displayed output that appears to be similar. The fact is that the kind of things you do with the underlying int or bool will be different than the string equivalent. Pretty much just saying it's just like, be mindful of how you're writing everything, and like it would, and like whatever type of, like, let's say you need to use that data later, right? If the types aren't matching, for example, you need a number that you wrote earlier that was in quotation marks. It's a string, but you're trying to calculate like some spending, like whatever the app that you have. Let's say it's like a I don't know, a budget app. Well, it calls that number for whatever you may have had it set for, but it's not calling the number, it's calling a string value. So then you're gonna get an error, and it may crash the application. I know, mamas. So that's why it's just kind of telling you just to be mindful that you need to use a number type, and it's going to be used as this number later. Use an integer if it needs to be. If it needs to be like an address, then put it in quotation marks, because we're not going to use it for math. So just kind of things to be mindful of. Let me scroll back up. I think we're gonna have a challenge. Declare variables. Okay, so this is just talking about variables. I didn't have to use var. Okay, so I could have just done int, and it would have worked the same. Like if I would have called double, right, and made this a double as well. Now it'll be 14, but if I did the 27 again, 13.5. So pretty much a variable is a container for storing a type of value, right? Variables are important because their values can change or vary throughout the execution of a program. Variables can be assigned, read, and changed. you use variables to store values that you intend to use in your code. Variables, or sorry, a variable name is a human-friendly label that the compiler assigns to a memory address. So this is a memory address somewhere. So like if you were to like call this, well, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but we'll learn about it. But if I try to call this as like a specific type of concept, it'll call the memory address and not, I think, because I think you have to specify. We'll get there. We're not there yet. I actually just got done learning Java, which is why I want to get through this so I can, keep the kind of concepts and syntax. Well, syntax is different compared to Java, but to keep like the concepts of programming still fresh in my head. So we know what a variable is, right? So we can declare a variable in different ways. Earlier I did the var, right? But this is using their actual type. So this is probably a way that you want to do this. I think that's actually mention for it. So a software developer once famously said the hardest part of software development is naming things. It's very true. Not only does the name of a variable have to follow certain syntax rules, it should also be used. Jesus, I can't even talk. To make the code more human readable and understandable. That's a lot to ask of one line of code. Yeah. So like that's why I just put in for number, right? So number 27 divided by half. I could have put number or user's number, or for the half I could have put divide by 2 or divide by half. However I wanted to put it, but I chose to do short, brief. Which is okay in the beginning, right? You're just learning. We're all learning at our own pace. So I'm hoping that this will be a good thing for all of us to learn a lot. Uh-oh. The stream's becoming a disaster because girl. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm thinking we can continue later today. We'll try again. I'm gonna try to get as many get through as many as possible. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired right now. But we're gonna try again. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you had a good time learning so far what we're learning. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. Maybe things to improve the video, the way I'm talking about things, teaching things. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Peace out, Girl Scout.